Hello everyone. Whether you are watching this in my comp class or watching this just curious about cross-country courses that I'm about to rank, welcome to the video. I am making this video for my creative project in comp since our final papers have been turned in. Now we just have an end of the year fun project. I'm super excited to do this. I'm really excited to make this tier list of cross-country courses. I've run on a good amount of courses throughout my time in high school. I just want to share my thoughts on them. I do have to make two shout-outs. Shout out Mr. Anderson. I really enjoyed taking your class this year. It was an absolute blast. Even if it was just for one semester, really enjoyed my time. And the second shout-out goes to Xander Delfordang, who gave me this idea for this video. I don't think anyone's ever really made one of these, and I think it's an awesome idea, so I'm really excited. Shout out Xander. Without further ado, let's get into the tier list. Alright, as you can see on the screen right now, we have our cross-country courses. Oh, tier list maker. I don't know if this is in the title. That doesn't matter. Either way, we got 22 cross-country courses down here. Some of them I have raced on, some of them I have done workouts on, some of them I have both raced and done workouts on, and there is one that I haven't run on, but we'll get to that later. Either way, got 22 here. Here are the rankings. We have S. This is going to be superior, meaning the best of the best. And then we go A through F, and F would obviously be the worst. This tier list is on tiermaker.com. If you just look up cross-country courses, I'm sure you can find it if you want to make it yourself. But let's go ahead and hop into this thing. Starting out, we have the course in Ames. It's at Iowa State. Now that I think about it, I probably could have put the Iowa State logo instead of the Ames High School logo. But it's fine. It's fine. I raced on the Iowa State course my junior year. It was our opener that year. And I believe because of the pandemic, they wanted to change up the course to make it a little bit more conducive for a fast time. So I don't know if I've run on the hilly version of this course. But that being said, I really enjoyed this course. I think it's really solid. The parts that I ran, the surface was really good. I just remember the parking was pretty solid. The finish line was cool. Pretty good spectator course, I would say, as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in B tier. I think it has a chance to maybe jump up to here at some point, but I don't want to rank it too high to start off the video. So the Iowa State course is going in B tier. Next up, we have the Augie Twilight cross-country course. This is held at Yankton Trail Parks in Sioux Falls. It is actually the same park as Nike Cross Regionals for the Heartland region. It's just on the other side of the park. A little bit of trivia. The thing with Augie Twilight is the course itself isn't that exciting, but the overall energy of the meet is about as high as it can get. It's a twilight meet, meaning it's in the evening, so every time I've raced at this meet, it's pretty much been like dark out and they have glow sticks lining the course and there's a DJ. So I'm stuck between, it's a mediocre course it's really just on soccer fields, it's all flat, it's a little bit boring, it's just a looped course. I think sometimes the distance of the course can change from year to year. So the course itself might be in D tier, but I think the overall environment bumps it up to C tier, and I feel like that's about right. Next up, we have the Central College course in Pella, Iowa. What's nice about this course is it's not just a soccer field, it's not just a golf course, it is specifically made for cross country. It is a very challenging course, I have to say. It's not really the hills, but I think it's just the overall turns and terrain. It really wears you down. But I really like this course. There's only one problem I have with it, and it's the start. It starts on an uphill, which is whatever, but then after like maybe 200 meters or so, maybe even less, I'm not sure, there's this kind of sharp right turn around a flagpole, and I think if you start on the inside and you have to kind of get smashed against the flagpole, it's not that fun. That being said, I think the course is definitely over Augie, so I'm going to put it in B tier for now. I also meant to say at the beginning of the video that I have pretty much all the logos of who has hosted these cross-country meets before. So for this next one, I have Bishop Heelan. They've hosted their Bishop Heelan Invitational at the SYA sports complex in Sioux City, Iowa. I've only raced this course once. I raced it a few times in middle school on the same sports complex. It's not that exciting of a course. It's all flat. Sometimes they try to run 4K for JV and then they end up just messing up the distance. The grass isn't always the smoothest either, so I think this one might end up in D tier. The next course on the list has a little bit of infamy with it. If you're unaware, the DMACC course in Ankeny, Iowa was the course that Tim Sint set his Iowa State record on for the 5K. First ever sub 15 from any Iowa high school runner. The course that day was most likely marked a little bit short. I was actually in that same race when Tim Sint broke the record. I was like 2 minutes behind him at the time. It was my freshman year. I think I ran 17:02 that day, and then at the state meet I ran 17:26. So it most likely was a little bit short. But overall, I think this is a really good course. It's mostly flat, but it does have a few hills, and I think as a spectator course, it's pretty solid. And I don't ever remember there being like big holes or anything like that. I think this one is going to go in C tier for me. I think it can maybe be bumped up later when I look at the overall things, but I think C tier is where it's going to go from now. Next up, we have the Fort Dodge cross country course. I've raced this for state 4 times, and I've also gone to one of the Fort Dodge Invitationals, so I think I've raced it like 5 times now, and I have to say it's a really nice course. It's not a specifically designed cross-country course, it is on a golf course. I think the things that it has going for itself, it's pretty honest. It's not too hard, but it's also not too easy. It's pretty honest in the time you can run on it. One downside is the internet connection on that Fort Dodge cross-country course is basically 0. It can be hard to look at the results, so I think I'm going to put the Fort Dodge course in B tier. And as my tier list starts to form, I think I'm going back to this Iowa State Ames course, and I think I'm going to bump it up to A tier. I think it's definitely a step above the Fort Dodge course, but I don't think it's quite ready to jump into a S tier or anything like that. Next up, we have the Glenwood course. I have raced this only one time. It was our season opener this year for my senior year, and it was an interesting course. The weather that day was pretty brutal, so I'm going to try to set that aside when I think about how to rank this one. If you're unaware of what the Glenwood course is like, it has an overall like negative altitude or incline from the start to finish line. So you start like higher up on a hill and then finish like lower. So you'd think it's a really fast course, but it does have a good amount of hills. The last mile or so is really, really weird. It basically winds down this hill laterally. So you have like a long straightaway, and then you have to do like a 180 turn and do another long straightaway before doing another 180 turn. And it probably does that at least like 5 times or more. So overall, I don't think it's a bad course, but those 180 turns kind of hurt my feet. At the same time, I think the park was really nice. It had some good shade. So I'm going to put Glenwood in C tier. And honestly, it might be able to get up here at some point, but I'm going to keep it in C tier for now. Next up, we have the Holstein cross-country course. Holstein's high school is called Ridgeview, so that's why their logo's here. The Raptors, pretty sick if you ask me. I think I've only raced on Holstein once for my freshman year. My sophomore year, we were about to start. It was downpouring like the entire day. They probably should have called it earlier. And then we were probably like 5 minutes from the race start because we were just like on a rain delay. We're all warmed up. We're kind of just chilling. We're going to be okay, this race is going to start. It's still raining a little bit, but we'll do it. And then boom, lightning strikes. And then they're just like, nope, we're not doing this meet. But overall, this Holstein course is really, really nice. It's a nice golf course. There are some hills on it as well. But overall, I think this is a really good course. So I think I'm going to put it in B tier for now. It might drop a little bit at some point, depending on how these other ones shape up. But I think I'm going to put it in B tier. Okay, so you know how I mentioned there was one course that I haven't run on? It's the Iowa course in Iowa City. I think it has a specific name. I'm not quite sure what it is. But I have not run on this course, but I have driven on it. So shout out Coach Hassenbank on my visit. Honestly, I think this is a really cool course. Everything I've seen about it, it looks like a pretty honest course. Not too terribly difficult, but definitely not easy. It's got some like solid turns and stuff like that. It's got the cool Hawk logo like carved into the grass as well, which is nice. They also held an NCAA regional meet this year, and the weather really showed up for that one. It was pretty snowy and cold. So I think this one's gonna go in A tier. I think it makes sense to be, at the same level as the Iowa State course. I don't know if I can say one is better than the other as of now, but I think they're at the similar level. Alright, so the next one up is Iowa Western. And this is the one I feel like I'm gonna get some heat for. I've run in this course quite a few times. I've run it for conference, districts, and I even ran on it for a Lewis Central invite. Now, the course can sometimes change from meet to meet, year to year, but overall, the ones I've run on, I've been pretty consistent. The one at Lewis Central was the one that was a little bit different just because the weather made a few parts like wet and muddy, so they kind of avoided like some of the hill, the really hard parts of it. But if you're unaware of the Iowa Western course, it's pretty fun. It's on their campus, but it goes back into this wooded area with lots of hills. And I always thought that having the opportunity to run that at conference and then followed by districts was a huge home court advantage for us, but it's a lot of fun. It's a tough course, but it's a really good time running through those woods. It feels like real cross country. So again, I don't know if this is gonna get some heat, but it's going into A tier for me. Iowa Western, good job. Next up, we have the Lamar's course in Brunsville, Iowa. Now this one I have very mixed feelings about. It's a pretty nice course. It's a great spectator course, and at one point I ran my PR my sophomore year on this course. The only downsides to it is the layout can be kind of tedious for the runner. If you haven't run on it before, it's basically 2 laps of 3 really long hills that you just have to run up and then back down, and then up another one, and then back down, and then up another one, and then back down. It's kind of it. Footing wise, terrain wise, it's pretty nice. It's run on a golf course. After the meet, hit up Blue Bunny in Lamar's, the ice cream capital of the world. Shout out. But there's one mistake that Lamar's made. It was probably the golf course's fault, but that course made one mistake. I'll say that. Missouri River Conference meet 2021. We ran on the course for Lamar's invite. It was perfectly fine, pretty well run. Come to conference, and there's no porta potties at the conference cross-country meet. To say that I was appalled was an understatement. Luckily, we were able to use their singular clubhouse bathroom, but no porta potties at a cross-country meet is a death sentence. So, if it wasn't for that, I could honestly put it here, in B tier. But it's going into D. No porta potties. Big thumbs down. Alright, next up we have the Woodbury Central course in Moville, Iowa. I have never raced on this course, but I've done multiple workouts on this course. I've done a solid fartlek and threshold run there. The golf course is run is pretty nice. A lot of tree cover. It's got some solid hills, which I think is good for a course. The downsides are it can be really windy. The other downside is it's a little long. I think it's around 3.2 most years. And the course isn't super exciting. I think it's gonna go into D tier. I think it's above Bishop Heelan or the SYA complex. It's not terrible. It's not the worst. It's probably like a strong D tier. Next up, we have the host course of the 2021 GPAC Cross Country Championships in Orange City, Iowa. I believe it's run on a golf course called Landsmeer or Landsmeer. I don't know what it is. It's kind of funny though. I've not raced on this course, but I did a workout before the GPAC Cross Country Championships. It was nothing too special. It had some pretty big hills, I would say, just relative. The one thing I did not like about it was it didn't feel like there was a lot of tree cover. And yeah, without the trees, not a lot of scenery or shade, and you can kind of get windy for that reason. I think it's going to go into D tier. Kind of similar reasons to Woodbury Central. Not super exciting, so I think D tier is okay. It's not the worst. Alright, next up, we have the Nike Cross Regionals course in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Same park as the Augie Twilight, it's just on the other side of it. I feel similar vibes for this one as I did Augie. It's not the most exciting course. It's all flat. It's 2 laps basically. It can be fast because it's flat and obviously really good competition. I would say the atmosphere is super, super exciting. They got a big tent, they fire the meet off with a cannon. I'm not even joking. It's huge. And I think they had fireworks when we started this year, and we got a flag, they hand out free stuff. It's an absolute blast. But just looking at the course itself, it's a flat course at a soccer complex. So I think for that reason, it's going to go in the same tier as Augie. Great atmosphere, mediocre course. C tier seems right. Alright, next up, we have the Ida Grove course, hosted by OACIG. I'm not sure what your school name is. I'm really sorry if you go there. But hosted in Ida Grove, we went there this year. For me, I did not race at it. I did a workout on the course. It is run on a golf course that is pretty flat, so maybe not the most exciting. But what it does have going for it, and this is like something that kind of restricted some of these other courses, is it has a lot of tree cover. Footing wise, I think there's just one spot where it's a little bit slanted. If you haven't been to Ida Grove, they have like this theme in their town where they have like kind of like castle-like buildings, medieval buildings. So one of the entrances to the golf course is like a drawbridge with like 2 big towers. So I think that's pretty sick. So it's gonna go in C tier. Next up, we have the Roy Griak course in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I raced on it this year for the first time in 2021. It's probably my best meet all year, which, it was the middle of the year, so it probably wasn't the best. That was my best meet, but learning experiences, I still had a great time. I really enjoyed this course. It is very challenging, I would say. It's got a lot of rolling hills and a decent amount of turns as well. It has some dope looking like stones for like mile markers. The atmosphere there is always amazing. They host a lot of meets. They host a lot of teams. The one downside, I would say, is in the starting straightaway, there's like this, like, it's not a Topgolf, but it's like a Topgolf net. It's huge. It's like, what is this? Starting the race, and I was like, we just gotta like fit through these weird like big pillars that are holding up the net. That was the only goofy thing about it. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is our first S tier. I'm sure some people are like, this course is way too tough. But I absolutely love it. It's not its own cross-country course, but honestly it feels that way. It feels like it's its own cross-country course. It doesn't even feel like a golf course. I know they do a lot of workouts there, a lot of trees, a lot of cool scenery, and yeah, Roy Griak, S tier in my book. Next up, we have another big relevant cross-country course on the national stage, the Running Lane National Cross-Country Course in Huntsville, Alabama. I had the awesome opportunity to run it this year, and yes, I was in the race where the national high school record got broken by 4 people, and Newbury Park put like, what was it, 4 in the top 9 or something like that. Absolutely ridiculous. I was not up there with them, but I did run my PR on this course. This course is a lot of fun. One of the really good things about it is the starting straightaway is probably like 600 to 800 meters. It's super long, so even if you have like a massive like 30 team field, you have plenty of time to just get out and find your space for the rest of the race. Yeah, like I said, it's a really fast course. I don't know exactly what makes it a super fast course. Maybe it's like the surface. There are a few hills, but it's not too crazy. The finish line and start line are about the same level as well. So I think this is another one going into S tier. Back-to-back S tiers. I think it's okay to have 2 S tiers. Having one, you're like, this is superior. But I feel like these two are deservingly S tier. Alright, I know we just had 2 S tiers, but I'm telling you this, Sheldon, it's not going to be close. It is on a tier of its own, but it's not great. I ran at the Sheldon course in 2020, kind of in the middle of the year, and to its defense, I think they've hosted it at a golf course before. But then for like a rain out or something, they had to move it somewhere else, and then the golf course just like never let them back. So the time I ran on the Sheldon course it was basically in like a cornfield. The worst things about this was, number one, the footing. The footing was absolutely atrocious. Warming up was painful, and just doing the race was just even worse. Ankle dexterity definitely increased by like 1,000% after that. The second thing bad about this course is the layout. It is basically just one big rectangle that you do 2 loops around, and then you like cut in on the second one, and then you finish. And the last thing was, the time we had to meet, the mosquitoes. Oh my goodness. These mosquito bites, honestly, were like bee stings. They were like welts. It was by far the worst cross-country course I've ever run on, and it's going in F. No question. Alright, next up, we have a course in South Sioux, Nebraska. It's hosted at the Covington Links Golf Course. And this one's a really nice course, to be honest. I raced on it my freshman year. Sophomore year, I think it got rained out, and then the past 2 years I did workouts on it. They host our city meet here, and typically it's an absolute blast. The course itself is really, really nice. There's a lot of tree cover, which I think is really nice for cross-country courses. It is on a golf course, but that definitely is not a hindrance in any way. It is relatively flat. There are some rolling hills, so overall I think it's a pretty honest course in time-wise. And overall, I just really enjoyed it. So I think this one's going in B tier. It's a really solid course, basically no complaints. Next up, we have another big relevant course when it comes to Iowa high school running, the Wartburg course in Waverly, Iowa. The Wartburg course has changed its layout a little bit from, meet to meet. I believe I've run on 2 different layouts for it, but each one was honestly really good. I think the one they've run in 2020 and 2021 was better than the one in 2019. Most years it's really fast. I'm confident it's an accurate course. It might be a little bit on the faster side because the finish line is below the start line. But overall, it's pretty solid. There's some, slight gradual hills, nothing too crazy. It's a good course to run fast on for sure. So I think this one's going to A tier. I really like it. Next up, we have the West Sioux cross country course in Hawarden, Iowa. This one is alright. I've raced on this course twice before, both my sophomore and junior year. It is run on a golf course that isn't the most exciting. It has a decent amount of tree cover though. And overall, it's not a bad course, I believe. And overall, it's not bad. There's only one real problem I have with it. In 2020, when we raced on it, we got to the meet and we're like, this course looks a little bit different than last year. Started back a little bit, and I think on the warm-up, or maybe just during the race, we're like, this seems a little bit different. Turns out, it was a 3.4 mile course. And for those of you who don't know a standard high school cross-country course, it's typically 5 kilometers, which is 3.11 miles. So it was a whole quarter mile longer than it needed to be. At least I can say I ran my PR for the longest 5K I ever ran there. Given it's kind of just a mediocre course and we ran 3.4 miles on it, I think it's going in D tier. And now, the last cross-country course we have on our tier list is the Dakota Valley course, which is hosted at Ames Nature Preserve in North Sioux, South Dakota. I have to be honest, I have not raced this course and I have not done a workout specifically on the course. But I have run at Ames Nature Preserve a lot. For those of you who aren't aware of what it is, it's probably the best place to run near Sioux City. It's all crushed gravel trail. It's covered with trees and just wildlife. It's absolute blast to run on. I think you can make a 7.6 mile loop. It's truly just amazing. So I don't know if I should include this since I really haven't been to the meet, but I do run in it quite a lot, so that's why I was compelled to include it on this list. But as far as the meet goes, I do know a little bit about it. The course is short, and not by a little bit, by a lot. It's comparable to the West Sioux one. Instead of 3.4, it's 2.8. Again, a normal 5K is 3.11 miles. And that's what they claim it to be, but it's 2.8. I've heard this from multiple sources. It's interesting to say the least. We almost did race on this course during 2020. It was going to be our season opener, but they moved the meet from a Thursday to the following Tuesday due to heat. But that following week, we were going to be racing at Ames, so we decided to just scrap the Dakota Valley meet. I don't know what it's going to take for them to change the course, but I certainly hope they do. A part of that is I just want to apologize to anyone who's set a PR or school record there. Course-wise, it might be in D for the 2.8 factor. And then, for the actual location, running at Ames, probably a S tier. So I'm just going to meet in the middle and call it a C tier. But there it is. This is our list. Just a quick little rundown. Got Roy Griak in Running Lane in S tier. Definitely really solid courses that I enjoyed the most. Got some college courses up into A tier, which makes sense. They're well taken care of. A lot of them are just straight up cross-country courses. B tier, definitely some solid ones. I think, on a different day, maybe Central jumps up or something like that, or Fort Dodge jumps up. Definitely solid courses. In C tier, we have some meets that bring really good energy, like Augie and NXR, but just the course themselves aren't amazing. And then D, just some mediocre ones. I think Lamar specifically, if it wasn't for the porta potty issue, it would probably be in B tier. Maybe even A. I really enjoyed it. No, probably B. But it's staying here. I'm sorry. And then F. I don't even want to say more about Sheldon. But again, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but this list is on tiermaker.com. It's under cross-country courses. So if you want to rank them, go for it. Maybe send me a screenshot. I'll definitely look at it. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. Again, Mr. Anderson, shout out to you if you watched this far. I don't know. Maybe you just take like 5 minutes of it. But really enjoyed your class. Thank you again, Xander, for helping me with this idea. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace.